Hello, my friends. Happy Sunday. It's Erica with Not Your Average EDC. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that is really going to start some conversation, and that's what we want. We're going to talk about why the Reeve Knives, the Sebenzas specifically, are really not the best knife, not the best cutting tool, not the best slicing tool. And before you guys start, raging in the comments, let me explain what I'm talking about after many, many years of using a Reeve knife, okay? No sip and flip right now. We're getting down to business. Also, sorry for all the flies. I sprayed myself with bug spray, so hopefully they won't bite, but you're going to see them buzzing around. It's probably just as annoying to you as it is to me. So, my first Reeve knife was the small Sebenza 21. I got this years and years ago. I think this one was made in 2015, 2017, something like that. So I've had it for a good amount of time. It's a good knife. It's a good knife. I've had it for a couple years. It's very broken in. It's beautiful. I mean, it just drops. It's ridiculous. Beautiful knife. However, when I got it and when I started using it, I was very confused. Number one, the steel was soft for me. And number two, I noticed, which I think a lot of you have too, that this portion of the blade doesn't like to cut anything. It doesn't slice, it doesn't cut, it's not sharp. And no matter how hard you try, generally speaking, this is a troublesome area on this design, on this knife, the Sebenza. And out of all the knives that I've ever had, this one has given me the most trouble. This blade shape, the thickness, everything about it has given me the most trouble. Sorry, that's Nicole. So here's the thing about Reeve knives. The execution is not as good as the design. The design is flawless. You cannot argue that. The design of this knife is absolutely flawless. It's the best knife design I've ever seen in the history of knives. The execution of the blade, in my opinion, could have been thinned out. And I know that technically it's a working knife. That's what Sebenza means, It's a hard use knife. But the blade is too thick, and at least on my Sebenza 21, the edge was convex when I got it. Really bad. And it wasn't even used. It was just like convexed. So this became something that kind of drove me nuts, honestly. Like I love this knife, I always have, but the cutting capabilities and the slicing capabilities just were not there. Fast forward to the 31, right? So now we have the 31. Nothing different in terms of the blade shape, the thickness behind the edge, anything. There's no difference. And again, that front area was giving me a little bit of trouble when I got it. When I got this knife, brand new, from eknives.com, it was sharp. But this area dulls quickly, and then it's hard to bring back. It's really difficult because it's too thick behind the edge and it wants to convex. And I am noticing that a lot of people are having that same issue. I've gotten so many messages saying, Erica, I love my Sebenza. It just doesn't cut and it doesn't slice very well. Number one, that's the steel choices that they use. I genuinely don't think that like S35VN and S45VN are like ideal choices. They're just not the best. The Magna Cut may or may not be better. But if yours comes with, a convex edge, or it's just too thick and the edge bevel isn't essentially thinned out enough, you can tell me that this is the best knife in the world all you want. Is the design the best in the world? Yes. Is the execution? No. It's too thick and it doesn't cut and slice that well. It really doesn't, guys. And I'm sorry if this pisses you off, but I will tell you right now, for a quarter of the price, you can get the same design, Benchmade bug out or like a Hogue Deco, whatever, 100 and let's say 30 or 150 bucks, right? For the same design and everything. Yes, granted, these are plastic scales and stuff, but you're getting the same design, same drop point, same blade shape for way less money, and this will outcut the Sebenza any day ever. Like, this knife will 100%, because of the geometry, outcut a Sebenza. No matter what kind of edge you put on this will outcut it and outslice it, because the geometry is correct and because it is thin enough behind the edge to actually slice for way longer. So with that being said, what do you do? What do you do when you drop, between $325 to $475 on a small Sebenza that won't cut very long or very well? Well, you have to lay the edge back, unfortunately, and you have to learn how to do that, because you are not going to utilize the capabilities of a Sebenza until you lay the edge back to 15 degrees per side. And I've made videos about this. We did a whole bunch of testing on this, but it's so old and it's so buried in the archives that people are asking me about it again a lot, and referring you to that video. It's old, it's outdated, and I'm sure it has some misinformation, so that's why we're talking about it again. So this old small Sebenza 21, I laid this edge back. I'm hoping you can see how fat that bevel is. This bevel is twice the thickness in height as this one. Can you see? This is way thicker. Now, yes, does it look thicker in terms of height? It absolutely does, because it is. But that makes it thinner behind the edge. We have removed so much material from the actual cutting edge that this thing is a slicing machine at this point. Now, when I was working on, making this 15 degrees per side, I took almost a disgusting amount of material off of the first inch and a half of this knife. I mean, I just took my 120 grit ceramic stone and ground the living shit out of the beginning of this knife, out of the very tip. I took so much material off, it would surprise you. But I will say right now, I can literally curl paper and pop hairs off of my arm with even just the tip of this knife. Look at how thick that bevel is. I did that freehand. It's all freehand. And this thing is a razor blade. You have to thin these out if you're going to actually, utilize the full capability of a Sebenza. If you guys don't know how to do that, maybe buy a guided system or something. But that's why you guys are not getting what you want out of your Sebenza, even though it's supposed to be the best knife in the world. There's way too much material on the edge, guys. If you are looking for a slicey knife and a really good, slicing tool, you have to do this yourself. You have to remove the material, because in reality, as much as you want to argue with me, the Reeve knives were meant for hard use. They really are. Even though they're kind of thin looking and elegant, they really are pretty beefy. Honestly, the blade stock is pretty beefy. It's a beefy build. This is not a thin, delicate knife in any sense. I mean, it's thicker than the bug out. It's way thicker than the bug out. It's way more hard use than the bug out. This really is a hard use working knife that's meant to be beat on, whether you want to or not. But you sacrifice slicing capability when you get a knife like that. When you have a knife with a blade, this short in terms of height, there's not a lot of area to thin out behind the edge. And yes, they hollow ground the motherfucking shit out of this. I understand that. It's not thin enough. It's not thin enough for most people, and that's why people use these as pocket jewelry, because in reality, when you go to cut something like cardboard, it's not going to slice through. It wants to wedge through, just like a Spartan Harsey folder. I have heard that those are beautiful knives and they're well built and they're, just as nice as these. They're terrible cutting tools. They're not good knives. They're beautiful pieces of art. They're tools, and they can probably be used as something further than a cutting tool. But as a literal slicing knife, not a good choice at all. Not a good choice at all. So you have to lay that edge back, guys. You have to lay it back. This one, I didn't lay back, so this is just the factory edge. And I will tell you right now that my old school 21 in S35 will outcut my new 31 in S45 any day, even though this steel is way better, supposedly. This one will outslice and outperform this one any day because this edge is laid back so damn far and it's now actually made to slice and cut. This is something that will really go through cardboard way better now than that one, just because I removed so much material from behind the edge. You have to make that bevel fatter, guys. You have to just learn how to remove material and do that yourself, because it's going to drive you nuts, especially if you get one with a convex edge bevel, or if it's just fat as fuck behind the edge like most of them. It's going to drive you insane when you're constantly going to use that tip and it's just flat and dull and thick, because it's just not proportioned correctly. So I know this one's going to start a shitstorm down in the comments. Go ahead. This is one of those things where just like you're not going to change my mind. I've seen the results. Geometry cuts, guys. You have to make this into this. You have to make the geometry the same. And thinning out the edge and removing severe amounts of material is going to do that for you. So just a little update, guys. Focus on the, first inch and a half of your knife, especially this area. You're going to need to remove extreme amounts of material in that area to get it to slice better. It will hold an edge forever once you do that, no matter what steel it's in. But yeah, go use your shit, guys. Go learn how to sharpen your knives, even if it's on a guided system. Just learn how to sharpen them and take care of them so that you can utilize them and really experience your knives in full force. And I will see you on the next video. Love you all.